How's it going, guys? Xanderosh here, and today we're finally going to be delving into Pokemon. Now, Pokemon is actually right up there with Tokusatsu as one of my biggest lifelong interests. As a result, I've wanted to talk about this franchise for a while, and today is the day that we finally venture into it. Now, why exactly am I starting with the most done-to-death topic on YouTube? Well, it's mainly just to test the waters, and also because I'm still brainstorming more niche Pokemon topics that haven't already been covered. Now, starter Pokemon are some of the most iconic for obvious reasons. Everybody tends to have strong opinions on these guys, and like my dad always says, opinions are like assholes. They all stink in unique ways. Right now, it's time for you guys to see how much mine stink. So let's get into ranking every starter Pokemon line, beginning, of course, with the Bulbasaur line. Bulbasaur and Ivysaur themselves are pretty cute, but I used to really dislike Venusaur, mainly because it looked tired, squished, and pimply, and while two of those still bother me, I definitely redact the squished part. I now actually appreciate the whole blooming flower concept across this line, and I now do like the flower on Venusaur's back, so it gets some redeemed points. Now, I actually don't have a particular attachment to Bulbasaur's personality in the anime, and I don't have much experience using it in the games, but I like the grass poison typing and its moveset looks decent. Overall, I'd say it's borderline good, solid B tier. Moving into my personal Gen 1 starter choice, we have the Charmander line. Charmander design-wise is the definition of simple and effective. I like how it can be easily drawn, looks so adorable and cuddly, and has a flame on its tail. Moreover, that flame being its life energy is a really neat concept. I am a little confused as to why Charmeleon is red, but Charizard more than makes up for it. The dragon adjacent design is awesome. Like Charmander, it's a simple yet effective design, but this time in a cool way rather than a cute way. Its torn inner blue wings feels very menacing, and Ash's Charizard in the anime is the best and really makes you like Charizard all that much more. The way that it went from that abandoned, fun-loving Charmander to a disobedient Charizard that would feel all the more powerful when he did listen, and then getting better on his journey with Ash before having to leave, and then coming back numerous times with this old comrade type of persona. Like, that whole storyline gives the image of Charizard so much personality, and it's always been a great addition to my team in the games. Fire Flying was a mostly nice combo, though it did become a tad annoying to have that 4x weakness to Rock in Red and Fire Red, but in Gen 6, I loved having Mega Charizard X with Dragon Claw, Dragon Pulse, and Flare Blitz. Speaking of, that's also a peak design. Charizard overall is the second most iconic Pokemon for a reason. I'm gonna say it's an A tier. Lastly, for Kanto is Squirtle. He's a cute little turtle with a weirdly elegant looking tail. It's great in the anime, gotta love the Squirtle squad, and its evolutions only make it better. I like Wartortle's deeper blue, almost winged looking ears, and how the tail is starting to look more like a wave. And Blastoise with just the cannons alone looks epic as hell, and it's been pretty good in my playthroughs with it as well. Overall, the Squirtle line is great in my eyes. I'm gonna say A tier. Now we get to what was for a long time my least favorite set of starters with Johto. I'm not in love with any one of their designs, and they were all below average in usefulness whenever I'd play a Gen 2 game. We start off with Chikorita, easily one of the worst starters out there in basically every regard. I just can't get behind it. It looks like a walking fucking booger with dots. I get that they wanted simplicity because it worked so well in the last starter set, but this is just too far. It doesn't look cute, it looks stupid. But Bayleaf was actually starting to get somewhere. It looks more slimmed out and refined, and the head leaf looks pretty slick. And the next evolution is a big-ass dinosaur? The Chikorita line might get redeemed. But then you see Meganium, and yeah, full stop, it looks terrible. The neck flower looks like a decoration rather than something that's actually a part of it, and the rest of it's so bare. We could have gotten something super awesome, but it's all cutesy for no reason, and why is the head leaf gone? Additionally, I did one time use it in a Heart Gold playthrough, and it was uniquely useless. It only has good defenses and everything else is mediocre, and the defenses don't help as much when it's a pure grass type and weak to so much. I was used to using my starters the most as a kid, but this was the one exception, and I grudged against the Chikorita line for a while because of it. Need I say F tier. Cyndaquil was my starter choice for Gen 2. Cyndaquil with those upward curving line eyes is really cute, and it doesn't look too off-putting in this form if it's bald and doesn't have the fire. With Quilava, however, it only looks cool if it does have the fire. And hot take, but Typhlosion kind of looks meh no matter what. It looks all slouched when it's standing, even if it does make the best use of the fire gimmick. I've had a good time playing with it. I like the moves that it learns, like Eruption and Rollout, but in a bit of a sad case, my favorite Johto starter only gets a B tier, slightly above Bulbasaur. Next up, we have Totodile. I don't have much to say about Totodile. It's an alright croc, and in the anime it's kind of annoying. As Croconaw, it becomes chubby and lame, and for Alligator, looks like he has these bandages underneath his skin with those scales. Not to mention, his bottom jaw jaw gives him this facial expression that just looks dumb, especially when he has his mouth open. I don't like him. I'm gonna have to say D tier overall. But to make up for the disappointment of the last three, we now have my favorite starter trio with Hoenn. If each of them were placed into another starter trio, there's a good chance that I'd choose them. What really made me love the Trico line is the anime. Ash's had this really badass nonchalant personality, and its combat fully evolved with those armed leaf blades was so tough. Trico is pretty cool. I tend to like geckos and those shades of red and green. I like the long head leaf on Grovyle, and Sceptile with the blades and the fern tail and just the overall look that he gives off. And it's a fast Pokemon with great special attack that has useful moves it can learn for it and Oraz. I'm saying A tier. Next up is the Torchic line. Torchic is easily one of the most adorable starters ever. I mean, look at those eyes and flame feathers and tell me that it's not cute. It makes a great companion to Mei in the anime, and I like its playful yet feisty personality. Now, Combusken is shaped unfortunately like a dick, but the design still works because it looks like a chicken with kicking power as intended. But Blaziken, on the other hand, is definitely a top 10 Pokemon design. I love everything about it. The bright red, the chest diamond, the spiked down hair, the jet claws that can emit flames, the legs looking like they were made for Blaze Kick, and its animalistic, almost dino-looking head. Not to mention, I love dual attackers, and let me tell you, Blaziken is great on both physical and special attack. And I don't know if it's the firefighting type combo or its hidden ability, but I didn't really ever feel the lack in its other stats. I've loved using it every time. Emerald, X and Y, or as. Not to mention, its Mega is OP, peak design, and appeared before the other two. Yeah, this line is my favorite of all fire starters. Throw it up in S tier. Next up is Mudkip, and I love how he's supposed to be a fusion of a Mudskipper and an Axolotl. His little fins, orange stargills, and again the eyes make him almost as cute as Torchic. We'd rather forget about Marshtomp though. I hate how they got rid of the vibrant blue and gave him Psycho Eyes. Swampert, on the other hand, is awesome though. It's like if you took the base Mudkip concept and made it all beastly and powerful. And as much as I like Blaziken, I will admit that Swampert, at least in the Hoenn games, is kind of a godsend. It's almost like that region is built for Swampert. Overall, I'd say the Mudkip line is around A tier. Then we get to the Sinnoh starters, which is a really weird case for me. I've switched around on my preference so much over the years in stark contrast to other trios. I currently lean towards Turtwig. It's a neat little turtle, and I love how they have a thing that looks kind of like a soil patch for his shell, as well as that little sapling sprout on his head. I love how Grottle evolves that into bushes and Torterra into a plate of land with the tree. And Torterra all around looks super intimidating with the stumpy legs, metal spikes, and monstrous head. I know people hated how weak it was once fully evolved in the anime, but come on, it was still fun the whole way through. And I have solid memories of playing with it, especially through some of the TMs it could learn. Definitely an A tier. My original starter choice when I was a kid was Chimchar. I like how much it embraces its fire typing. It's got the fire tail, the stomach swirl, the wispy looking hair, and it looks even cooler as Monferno. I like the blue goggle looking face marks that it gets, and it overall expands the same concept in a cool way. Infernape is pretty cool too, and I really like the Sun Wukong inspiration that goes into this guy. But over time I've grown to like it a little bit less because of the color proportionality, and it's not as cool as Torterra. The anime obviously makes you fall in love with this line. Its whole thing of being abandoned by Paul because of its weakness and then growing and struggling on its journey with Ash was just really inspiring. And in my experience, it's definitely been the easiest to get through Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum with. I'm gonna say A tier, just slightly lower than Turtwig for the Chimchar line. Then there's Piplup, who is my starter preference somewhere in the middle. Looking at just first forms alone, Piplup is still probably the best of the three. It's extremely adorable and iconic with the baby penguin look, and Dawn's Piplup made it one of the most memorable and lovable Pokemon out there. It just had so much personality and is as tied to her as Pikachu is to Ash. But when it comes to Prinplup and Empoleon, that's a different story. Prinplup is shaped really weirdly for some reason. Like, more of its mass went to its lower body, and I think it looks really strange. And with Empoleon, I just don't care for the suited penguin thing, and while the head trident sounds cool on paper, it's just awkwardly executed in reality. I will say though, Water Steel is a pretty cool typing because of how many resistances it has. Overall, mainly because of Piplup carrying, the line goes into B tier. Next up, we have the Unova starters. I have a really close friend whose favorite Pokemon growing up was Snivy. I grew to really like Snivy as a result. I like its slick look and its leaf tail. Servine makes it look sharper and more slimmed out in every single way, and I really like the leaves being all over it this time. And Superior as a giant snake just looks really threatening, and the elegant French motif that it has is pretty neat too. I also like the cleverness of Ash's Snivy, but I admittedly used to hold a grudge against the line as a kid too, because I struggled so much in a playthrough of Black 2 when I'd chosen it, and I think that's because it's really only fast. Its defenses are alright, but that's even further bogged down by the fact that it's a pure grass type, and then everything else is shit. Those biases might slightly affect my ranking, but I'm still gonna say B tier. Next is Tepig, and let's keep this simple, it's ugly. Pignite is fat and ugly and standing for some reason. And Emboar would have been somewhat cool if it wasn't for the Firebeard, which throws the whole thing off. The one thing saving it is that it is pretty solid in Gen 5 run-throughs. I know people didn't like 3 firefightings in a row, but it is a buff. But overall, Tepig is D tier. But now we have my all-time favorite starter and the Pokemon that really got me into Pokemon, Oshawott. It's pretty much the most adorable thing of all time in my opinion. I love its coloring, I love its shell, and I just love otters in general, so conceptually it's up my alley. And Ashes is such a character, so much fun, and makes him all the more cuter. And then we have Duat, which is tied with Oshawott as one of the best Pokemon designs. The vibrant blue and shell blades that he draws from his waist is awesome. And a lot of people don't like Samurott, but I still think it's peak design. I'll admit that it's weird that he's on 4 legs a lot of the time, but on 2s it's epic as shit. I mean, full body samurai armor made out of shells? That's just fucking awesome, and it looks so cool when it draws swords out of said armor. And while it might not have been the single best final form starter design, Hisuian Samurott with the crisp looking dark armor genuinely elevates it into contention of that title with Blaziken. And I've always loved it in battle because again, I'm a fan of dual attackers. As my favorite starter line, it goes at the top of S tier. Now we reach the Kalos starters, starting with Chespin, and boy do I love me some Chespin. It's a super adorable rodent, and I love the aesthetic of his inner body having chestnut colors with the chestnut suit to hood him. I love the Macron addicted Chespin in the anime, it was super funny. Now I'll give the haters this, Mr. Fatso Quilladin is not it. But what comes after with Chestnut is one of the most underrated Pokemon designs ever in my opinion. Yeah, it looks very far from its pre-evolutions, but the giant bulked up knight look was awesome. It looks like a fusion between an armored knight monster and robot, and I just love that. And in the game, yeah, grass fighting might give it a lot of weaknesses, but through TMs and leveling up, it learns a lot of great moves that are fun to use. I loved its signature spiky shield as a kid, and using it as a physical tank in X and Y is nice. Overall, I unashamedly hold up Chespin as my favorite grass type starter. It's going in the S tier. Next is the Fennekin line, and it's a cute enough little fox. I like how its red ears can glow and its pointy snout reminds me of a dog. But Braixen looks like a cursed 2-legged Fennekin, and Delphox with the draping fur cloak is one of the dumbest witches I've ever seen. It is pretty useful in games though. I like the fire psychic typing. All things considered, it's about an average line for me at around a C tier. Then we have the Froakie line, which I hated as a kid but has really grown on me since. Froakie just looks so small and adorable as a bubble frog. Frogadier actually holds up as one of the better middle form stages, and Greninja is a frog ninja with his tongue as his scarf. It's a funny on paper but awesome in execution concept. And Ash Greninja's extra details make it all the more better. I love the shuriken being on its back. And speaking of Ash, it's one of the most badass and memorable Pokemon of the anime. And the thing that really made me warm up to it is that I've probably played through X and Y about 4 times with Greninja, and it was always such an OP hitter, which I had no idea why as a kid. But now that I understand what its amazing ability that is Protean is, it all makes sense because it gets stab on any move regardless of type, and that makes Greninja so amazing in battle. Overall, I give the Froakie line an A tier. Next up, we have the Alola starters in another one of my favorite trios. Rowlet could maybe use some more grass detailing than just the bow tie, but it's still a really funny concept and it's a cute starter overall. Especially seeing it spin its head, it's adorable. Dartrix is a standard next stage to that concept, so there's not much to say there. And Decidueye's whole Archer Robin Hood aesthetic was really well done. The fact that it has glasses is funny, and using its wing as a bow is creative and awesome. And switching Grass Flying to Grass Ghost was a great decision that makes it pretty useful in game. I say A tier for the Rowlet line. Moving on to the Litten line, Litten's design just embraces the personality of a cat. The red and black contrast each other really nicely too. As for Torracat, I like its fireball tag, and Incineroar took a concept that sounds like it'd be awkward of a tiger wrestler with a flame belt and actually make it pretty well proportioned and cool looking. People also say that it's one of the best competitive Pokemon ever, and I believe it given how much it carried me through Sun and Moon. I'm overall gonna say it's another A tier and above the Rowlet line. And then we get to my starter choice for Alola with Poplio. It's such a playful little seal and I love the shade of blue. Brionne then serves as a great bridge between the concepts of its pre and post evolutions, and Primarina is the definition of how to do a more feminine design right. Everything about it is so sparkly and elegant, and it utilizes the siren motif very well. And I love fairy types, so Water Fairy is awesome. And I love how much of an absolute special attack cannon Primarina is. Overall, the Poplio line goes an A tier above its counterparts. Next up, we have the Galar starters. Grookey's muzzle makes him look really cute, and I like that he bangs on things with his stick. Thwacky's got a nice lime green going on with an even bigger stick, and I love the look of Rillaboom's wooden drums, as well as the fact that he has a grass mullet. Him supposedly being based on Ringo Starr is just awesome. And I like that in contrast to Primarina, it's such a physical attack cannon of a starter. I'm gonna say A tier. As for the Scorbunny line, Scorbunny reminds me a lot of Torchic, but as a fire rabbit instead of a fire chicken. I like the ninja-esque look of Raboot with the face mask. And Cinderace is a bit of a disappointment coming off of that, but overall does the soccer player thing pretty well. It has an athletic edge to it for sure, and is definitely my starter choice for this generation. A tier. Finally for Gen 8 is the Sobble line, and I'll make this quick. It's ugly and the innocent look doesn't make it look cuter in any way. Sezile is then emo for no reason. And Inteleon just looks awkwardly slim, and the finger gun concept is one of the most overrated in Pokemon history. Your gimmick being making finger pistol motions like the kid in the back of the classroom will never be cool. D tier for the Sobble line. Lastly are my new least favorite bunch of starters in the Paldean trio. I like Sprigatito, I'm not super crazy on it, but the eyes are sorta cute. Florigato's pretty neat too, it doesn't really do anything wrong, and I like the flower pin. And for Meowscarada, I like the visory thing it's got going on, as well as the whole floating plant magician trick. It was definitely a satisfying choice through Violet as well, but I don't know, it's nothing that special, I'd only put it at B tier. And I just find the Fuecoco line ugly through and through. The top of Fuecoco's head looks like some McDonald's french fries to me, and his face just looks stupid to me, which is made worse in his evolution. Crocolore's sombrero being made of lava just looks lame to me, and Skeletor just detailing on his head just looks disgusting. The coloring and patterns are just ugly, and it just looks like he's got lava saliva going on. Overall, this line contains some of my least favorite starter designs, and I'm saying it's an F tier. And lastly, we have the Quaxly line, which is pretty ugly too. Quaxly just looks so boring and under-detailed given the concept they were going for. Quaxwell improves it a little bit, as I like them bringing in the darker shade of blue, only for Quaquaval to come in and ruin it. It's all zesty and not in a good way, it just looks stupid. I gotta say the Quaxly line is a D tier. And that right there is our final tier list. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I definitely want to talk about Pokemon more in the future and on less basic topics. But if you enjoyed this video and want to see more like this, let me know in the comments what you'd want to see me rank next. With all of that being said, I'm Xander Roche, and I'll catch you guys next week.